Okay, I guess I'm gonna tell my story about. I'll change the title too. Okay, so basically for me, I've experienced a lot of different situations where I had been. Oh, I'm not sure if you can hear me if I'm doing this right. Wait. Okay, there. So personally for me, I don't know. I wanted to share this experience. Like for me, I always found with my ethnicity and background, I've said before, I was raised to think that I was black from 0 to 19 years of age. Then I came across this big culture shock at around 18, where people would randomly ask my ethnicity and things of that nature, and I would be very confused because I was like, I'm just black, and it'd be very confusing to me. But a major thing for me was with black people. The type of acceptance I got was more so in the sense of not really receiving acceptance, but just the message that you're basically a black because we don't want you to think you're better than us, kind of thing, really. Like, like thinking of someone or pointing someone out as black to basically downgrade them when why can't black features be like celebrated. From like I'd say 17 to 21, I only want it to just be accepted as a lot of other black women because that's what I identified as, and I've always identified as a black woman. But you know there was this whole situation that kind of set me in my place kind of situation. And I mean, like, honestly, it's been so many different situations that wouldn't be much different from that as well, but not as drastic, no. So, anyway, at around 20, I am trying really hard to fit in, as a black woman among a majority of black women at my job and things of that nature. And for me, it was like I I didn't want to be seen as an outsider, basically. And I blended in pretty well with a few black women at work that were more understanding and accepting, maybe because of their own background. At first, I specifically mainly had these two friends. One was Pacific Islander and black, and she was a bit colorist, I guess you could say, to black women and things of that nature. But she was accepted because she had an interest in black men. And I think she preferred black men, honestly. The other girl preferred black men as well, but they didn't have any issue with me in particular. But, I learned in the black community a major thing was for mixed women to really fit in the black community. Usually they gravitate towards a man who's, a darker skinned black man. And, it's, they're more accepted. Also, I think there are different features that some mixed people have that makes them more acceptable or less acceptable. So when I was 20, I had this whole situation with this person. I was friends with two other people who are LGBT identified, or people I would consider LGBT. And this third lady was very much a lesbian, and she was dark skinned. The other two women that I was friendly with were black, but one was light skinned and the other was brown skinned. Um, and for me personally, I never identified as any other race, but this situation kind of was an eye opener for me and how black people treat me as opposed to how white people treat me. And this part actually, I was watching a video of someone who's biracial, and they were saying how they experience certain situations, and I related to this because, like, um, I basically had this kind of like dispute with this darker skinned lesbian. Um, some things were uncomfortable for me, and other things were like, you know, just not acceptable, basically. And we got into a bit of a heated up argument, and it in turn turned into her telling everyone that I was not black and didn't like black people and was racist. And it was like kind of like seen as though people agreed with her. The black people generally agreed with her, but the white people seemed to not get it, which made sense. And with the whole dispute situation, it had nothing to do with race. It was just something that they tried to use against me, basically, because in our conversation, it was just mainly about sexuality and issues with that. But um, they tried to turn it into a racial issue because I had said earlier that morning what I was eating for dinner, which happened to be like fried chicken. And as a black person, you know, it was weird that that stereotype or that assumption that black people who are just living their lives will be associated, with racism. Um, but during that whole situation, I felt like just because she had the phenotype that black people have, that they sided with her. And like, there's this whole aspect of it where like a lot of darker skinned black people can't do any wrong when it comes to colorism and racism. So we're all supposed to just accept it, which is really bad and kind of a different story. But for me, this was a major reason why, because I ended up losing my job because of it. And I felt like, you know, the people that I associated with and saw as my own, for whatever reason, they didn't at that time. And to me, I thought I looked black. I look very similar to the avatar that I have here. That's why I posted it. And when I was like 18, it was weird. And I guess I should have caught on by then because people would ask a lot what race I was. And they wouldn't even ask if I was mixed race for that matter. Some black people just automatically assumed what I was, basically.